Sports on your dial right now. With 86 stories every play, every time with Rob Browne breaking it all down. Yeah. SEC, Sideline Sports on my mind. Rob Browne calling game time, highlight shine, executive mind. Brendan Martin keeping Rob in line. Like, subscribe, share it, tell everyone. Sideline Sports, y'all come back real soon. Same place, same time, same tune.
All right. Woo! Man, what a morning here in the Mid-South. Rob Browne, Brendan Martin, executive producer down in Ocala, Florida. Look at him.
I'm picking my fiddle.
You know what? I tell you, Ellis Johnson out today. He has no power, no interweb, no nothing over in South Carolina, right outside of Clemson, where he lives. Pete Cordelli.
I just want to say something, Coach. Unexcusable. No power. I don't care, Tom Cruise. I got on in Dallas, Fort Worth when I stole a lady's iPhone signal inside of a place I shouldn't be to get it on the show. Tom Cruise, call me. I'll get you on the air.
Hey, Tom, we love him. We got Pete Cordelli is on right now in his car up in Nashville. Y'all all got the color TV. You've been watching the weather. It's been rough. Praying for recovery for everybody. Look, your power will get back on. I went almost 2 weeks one time in an ice storm with no power. It's tough, but we're built for it. It's rough. Brendan, you've been without, man, the hurricane. So look,
man, I don't know. You talk about hurricanes. I'm from Colorado, dog.
I know you've seen snow.
Let's
do this. Take a picture with your cell phone of the QR codes. We're broadcasting live, 8 channels, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Brendan does it. It's amazing. And the reels just keep coming. Bartoo, Dave Bartoo will come on. Said, hey, man, the earlier the better today. There's always a lot to talk about with that guy because college football season really never takes a nap. It kind of slows a little bit, but, man, you better be paying attention to what's going on or all of a sudden you'll get whacked in the face. Here comes spring practice, opening game day. Pete Cordelli with us. Again, those of you that have no power or watching on your phones or generators or whatever, we appreciate
it's kind of balmy here. I got to admit, I'm at like 70.
It's 7 degrees here.
It's humid. I'm a little sweaty right now.
Yeah, well, Brendan, it's 7 degrees here in Memphis, and I'm over in Parkin at Ice Station Zebra right now. And wow, you can see my breath when I'm talking on the phone. This old house, big house. Fireplace. We burned
Dude, you're complaining. I'm looking at Coach. He's out of the car right now.
I know. I love it.
I don't know who's worse.
I love it. I mean, I'm saying it's fun. And
Coach, you got that heater on full blast in that car or what?
No, just barely turned up.
The polar bears at the zoo are having more fun.
This is nothing like coaching in South Bend up there. This is just another day, right?
Guys, I can tell you, I've only had one worse experience with the weather than this one right here. We go to Minnesota, and the first day we're there, you know how down here in the South scrolls across the bottom of our TV, be ready for storms and hurricanes and all stuff. Check into the hotel and scrolling on the TV. Be careful of frostbite. It is minus 50 to minus 70 with the wind chill here in Minneapolis. And all of a sudden I'm going, fellas, what in the world is going on? And it never got below minus 25 for 5 straight days up there in Minnesota. So that's the only one that's been worse. But thank God we didn't have to practice at that time. It was just getting from your car to the building and that stuff. And Coach Holtz hated cold weather. So he would make a graduate assistant go out and start his car. It got to 72 degrees inside. 2 hours after the kid went out and started the car, he comes down to me and goes, "Where the hell is Shannon O'Brien? It's been 2 hours." And I said, "Coach, it's not 72 degrees in that car." "Oh, yeah, that's right." And I'm laughing my ass off. And I'm thinking, well, it took them a whole nother hour. It took them 3 hours to get that car up to 72.
Look,
Well, did he have like a little temp in there? I'm sure Coach got in there. He's like, it's a 71. I'm gonna have to
Knowing Lou, he probably, if it wasn't so cold running back into the building, he probably would have done that. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and everything, what's crazy, everything that you do, like I got up to take the dogs out this morning and the snow is so deep, you fall down in it and you sit there and you think, well, you know what? It's just part of the gig, man. I remember up in South Dakota, up where we pheasant hunt in Chamberlain, Gary Rose at the L7 Ranch, his dad at the time was 89 out there in his Carhartt coveralls with a bale of hay in each hand. And I said, what y'all do when you were a kid and it snowed like this? You just get your ass out of bed. You got 1,000 head of cattle. That's your livelihood. I'm like, you're right. That's how it works. How about some of these comments? Now, if this is real,
it's real.
Hello from Thailand was 85 degrees today and sunny. 7 here in Valonia, Arkansas. This guy, One Stone Angel. Hey, by the way, basketball, Auburn's first win in Gainesville in 30 years. Stephen Pearl, interesting. Scarborough put out something yesterday. I think he's got 3 or 4 wins against Final Four coaches. Just got to get the regular coaches get better. But look, it's your first year as a coach. There's a learning curve, Pete. Pete, let's go back to this. What happened last Monday? Indiana winning the national championship. It is such a topic of conversation. And I'm going to throw this out there. It doesn't matter. It is generating interest in college football. Fan bases all over the country are saying, hey, if Indiana can do it, why not us? Now, are they revolutionizing the way we're going to recruit? Our 7-on-7 camps, not what they used to be. As Matt Stinchcomb called them on the show, it's pajama football. You got to get down in the dirt. You still got to be tough. But for all those people that said you can't be tough on the kids today, look at the coaches who were the Final Four. They're all hard asses, okay? You go soft, you will get a soft team. As my dad famously said, if you put half-ass into life, you'll have a half-ass life. Go 110. You know what, Pete? Take it from there, and 32.3 million peak viewers, the largest audience for a non-NFL game in 10 years. And the only other thing, it actually, I think, beat the Cubs win in Game 7 over the White Sox in 2016. And I remember seeing David Ross, former catcher at Auburn, who went to Florida his senior year, who was with the Cubs, obviously the coach at the time, the manager, at a basketball game right after that. And the line for his autograph was 3.7 kilometers. It was insane. But, Pete, let's talk about that Hoosier win, because I think it's firing people up in the SEC like we hadn't seen in a long damn time.
Well, not only a great point, Rob, about Indiana and Miami and their head coaches and the personalities, but remember, both of those guys worked for Nick Saban at one point.
Yep.
And they saw how Nick got it done out coalescing and hugging up all those guys.
Yeah.
There was a standard, live up to the standard. Nick let them know about it. Well, Signetti comes by it naturally. His dad was a very successful college coach at Indiana University of Pennsylvania, which is north of Pittsburgh. My dad was a high school coach that knew Coach Signetti's dad. And you talk about cut out of the cloth, Sig and his dad are winning this thing. Here's the standard. Here's what you're going to do. And if you can't do it, you're not playing. And Mario Cristobal, same. Mario went out to Oregon. He brought that SEC mentality of toughness and was starting to get it turned. But how can you not go back to Miami when that job opened? If Miami doesn't open, then Mario may still be here. Yeah. What we had was an unbelievable show of grit, will, toughness, determination, especially by Fernando Mendoza on that touchdown run. And that's that. Yep. And the block punt is is the difference in the game. Both of these head coaches now, when you go to their practice, they're getting after each other.
Yep.
It's good on good, making each other better. Signetti brought a number of guys from James Madison, but the most important group he brought from James Madison is who he brought from Elon as well, are those coaches. The continuity on that staff, and we've talked about it before on the show.
Yep.
The verbiage is the same, the terms are the same, the way you go about doing things are the same. So you're not a whole lot of extra time on, well, what does this mean? What does that mean? They know exactly what it means. The group that came from James Madison of players, they told those guys, here's what Coach Signetti means. They control the locker room. Mario Cristobal, he changed defensive coordinators a year ago and brings in Corey Heatherman. And, you know, it's the leadership of the position coaches. So also the ability to get guys to buy in. A year ago, Indiana lost in the first round of the playoffs in South Bend on a Friday night. And standing on the sideline was Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban's of Pittsburgh, Indiana. Walking off the field, Mark Cuban, who's a sports owner, owned the Mavericks, the SIG and said, hey, can't believe you did this with IU football. How can I help you? And he said, you can help with this NIL money. He said, you'll have a check on Monday. That was Cuban's first time being involved. So, Rob, you being an Auburn guy, Brendan, you being a Florida guy, you know there's always people associated outside of the program that are money guys.
Yep.
Sugar daddies.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever you and they were in place long before NIL. Indiana didn't have that. You know, someone made the comment that, man, it's great that Indiana administration is not rural sport anymore. They're actually putting money into it and making a commitment. So Cuban makes the donation, and they do it. Well, Cuban's now all in. And so the donation this year was a lot bigger. And Signetti and his staff went out. They got the 2 running backs to transfer. They got some other transfers. Their balance in building their team has been tremendous, but the key, obviously, is at quarterback. Now, Miami, look, I recruited South Florida for 9 years. Dayton, Broward County, man, you got dudes everywhere. And the one thing Mario did was he started to keep some of that homegrown talent coming back to the U, but the one thing he needed to get better at was a quarterback. So he gets 2 years ago. He gets Carson Beck this year. It looks like he's going to get Mensa. That I think when it all shakes out, he'll probably. But he hasn't brought in a quarterback for Florida yet. He wants a more experienced guy, which I understand. The key to that game, when it's 10-0 at the half, you're saying, okay, Indiana's usually really good in the second half. Shoot, that first drive, 3 and out, that Miami defense, they got turned up to 11, brother. And so now Miami outscores Indiana 21-17 in the second half. But Rob, Indiana averaged less than 4 yards per play in the second half. Miami averaged 9 yards play. So the whole time I'm watching this, I'm going, there's this wizard of who told me and us that I do some work with the Miami staff. And sometimes I send them information on their opponents. And I'm going, the Wizard of Oregon has sent this Miami staff on how to stop the second half surge. And all of a sudden, Mario Cristobal has listened to the Word of Oregon And I'm going, let me get Bartoo on the phone. And then he's not answering. He's not answering. And I'm going, he's got a headset on. He's not answering any calls. Corey, look for this. Look for this. I'm telling you, Dave Bartoo is brilliant. And oh, there he is.
Yeah. Let me say too, Dave. First off, thank you.
Your information.
Yeah.
There we
Bartoo,
go.
Your information.
Dave.
Was
Dave, you're a huge part.
absolutely right on, man.
Yeah, it was. And I think Pete's out there. I think he's in his car right now in Nashville, Dave. I think 80 or 90% of Davidson County, where Nashville is, Williamson County, where Franklin has no power. That the ice storm hit them. Memphis, I'm over here in Parkin at the farm, and our heat in this house is working hard, but it's 52 on the wall, but it seems a little colder than that. But you know what? We'll figure it out. But Dave, you are as my kids say, we got kids the same age, ginormous part of this show. You, Ellis, Pete, Brendan, executive producer, this Monday lineup that we do, it is a team. I just want to make sure you know that we have so much respect for what you do. In fact, Pete, Ellis, and Dave, people, they say, man, it's like going to clipping a master's course in college football, roster management. And also, we're going to do that gaming show next year. And you can subscribe. You can get some great information. It's a different way of thinking. Dave, you heard what Pete was saying. And Pete out in his car, hardcore Pete. How you doing, Dave?
I'm a lot warmer than y'all. That's for sure.
Yeah.
That is for sure. But I understand the freezing rain. It's we probably get more freezing rain than snow out here because of our geography.
Yeah.
So there's a reason there's a 9,400 watt generator hooked up to this house outside. Even though we don't get a lot of snow, we do lose power annually because of freezing rain, and that stuff is brutal. I just hope everybody out there stays warm and safe until it gets all melted off, because it's some bad stuff.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, I'm in Parkin at the farm, and it's 7 right now, and the snow is piled up. I mean, you open the back door, and it's 3 feet up the door. And the roads, thank God for my F-150. You can get one at LandersFordMemphis.com with the 4-wheel drive. Is it a truck without 4-wheel drive? Not in my opinion. We've been riding around, and Dave, the most requested thing over here, my wife and a couple of people hanging out said, have you taken a chill gummy yet? Please take a chill. It's calmed me down. But Dave, along the line of what's happened, here we are a week out from the national championship game where Indiana won, and you look at Miami, how far they've come. Where do you see college football next? The portal is like just the stock market, the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. It is, when that bell rings every day, it's that active. It seems like it really isn't stopping, even though technically it was over January 16th. But roster management seems to me, where's Bobby Beathard?
Yeah, it's poaching and pillaging, and it was it's hard to gauge how tough it is if you're not there. You know, I'm on the outside. I don't really have to deal with it. But here's a small story, a microcosm of the hellscape that is the transfer portal. As you know, I help schools staff their coaching staffs, and I reached out to a coach that is a DB coach, and I reached out to him because his grade in our system is pretty high, and I knew where he was. He had just transferred. He had taken a job somewhere else, so he was at his new job, and I reached out to him about a Power 4 cornerback position, and he was in such a frantic. He responded to me, "What do you got? I need 2 more DBs." That was his state of mind. He was willing. He was so caught up in the portal that he felt everybody reaching out to him was an agent with a kid.
Wow.
Think about that,
Yeah.
right? I mean, is it somebody's reaching out to him and his first thought is, oh, I need 2 more players and I'll just deal with this agent if they got a guy.
Yeah.
That sucks,
Yeah.
right? I'm like, Coach, no, I'm calling about a power 4 quarterback position, to which he responds, oh, well, I'm ready to go. Who do I talk to?
God.
So it's what it is. It's every man, woman, and child for themselves.
Well,
and it's degraded the entire system right now.
Yeah, it is. And it's like the guy the wholesaler that would come by our office back in the day, and you would meet with him and he'd say, my office is located conveniently in the trunk of my car. Yeah, so he can haul ass after he just tries to rip you. I mean, that's where we are. Pete, a professional agent, Dave, y'all both know this. NFL agent, you make 3% now. Maybe 4, but I think it's 3. And these agents, these runners, they're pimps, okay? Are getting 15 to 20%. That tells you right there, that's a broken system, Pete. You heard what Dave just said. Comment on that. That is where we are.
2 years ago, I was coaching at a high school in Nashville. George McIntyre was a junior quarterback. Excuse me, at Brentwood Academy High School. A junior now, getting ready to go into his junior season. We are having summer works the end of July. We haven't officially started our practice. We get done with the morning workout. I go up. We have a quick staff meeting. I look out on the field, and there's George McIntyre throwing passes after we'd already worked out in the morning. And there are 3 guys out there that no one knows. I think I know one of those guys. I walk out on the field and I said, how you doing? I'm Pete Cordelli. Who are you? And they introduce themselves. One guy. And then the third guy looks at me and goes, yeah, I know you. And I said, what are y'all doing here? Well, I said, they were runners for a particular agent one knows across this country who had just moved his office from Memphis to Nashville. I said, guys, this kid is going into his junior year. We have new coaching staff here. What were told that he was going to throw extra today? I said, we haven't even put our team together. You're over here trying to get into the head of a rising junior. I said, does anybody need to come over from the head coach? No. I said, you need to leave. Well, I said, you need to leave. I said, George, you got to go. This isn't right. The 3 of them start walking off the field. One guy turns around. NIL in high school in Tennessee is legal. I said, I really don't give a damn. I'll tell you what you're doing is you're creating a problem on our high school team with the kids in that locker room going, wait a minute. George McIntyre's getting an offer from these guys? I said, fellas, there's a protocol here about how you go about doing it. You don't just make a side deal with the kid and then show up. Needless to say, there were some weeks that George McIntyre didn't practice during the week, but he played on Friday night. But all of a sudden, Saturday morning, he miraculously is flying to Los Angeles to visit UCLA and getting paid for the visit. And then the next week, he's miraculously flying to another school and getting paid for the visit.
Yeah.
But man, he didn't practice some days, some weeks, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And yet, every home game, these guys, and I'm going to tell you, it caused an issue with a high school team that ended up going 2-10. I mean, I've seen it firsthand,
Pete.
and it's
Yeah.
Rob. We can talk about coaches trying to take guys out of the sport. It's the agents that are the problem.
Yeah.
It's wild, wild west, bro. The vigilantes right now because they're like the low line.
Yeah, Pete, we're losing your video. You're breaking up a little bit. We may just go to your audio to try it that way. But Dave, you just heard what he said.
Yeah.
You're thinking about locker rooms, and you think about college. You know, you do the staffing right now. We're getting younger and younger coaches. I mean, when are we going to have the 28-year-old head coach at a Power 4 program? Because that's where we're going to go. Because the older guys, I think, might just say, I'm out. I can't function in this world. But I guess my biggest question is, you talk to a lot of coaches around the country, and you go in there and you pay a kid in the locker room like that, and you're flying him all over the country. He's a junior in high school. There's going to be some animosity. Not that they don't want to see him succeed, but if you don't have a team culture, how do you have a team? What are your coaches telling you?
Yeah. Well, I don't get to talk to them a lot. I mean, there's no downtime. I think that's one of the biggest things is my connectivity to the coaches that I work with, coaches that I deal with, is less now than it's ever been because they're so busy with stuff like this. You know, re-recruiting their players, trying to find the next one. Just there's no continuity, there's no rhyme or reason. But at the same time, the money's so good, guys really aren't going to leave. So ultimately, it's what's the magic formula for finding and retaining good coaches, and what is the magic formula for finding and retaining good players? You know, I would argue that Indiana did that the best of anybody this past year, actually 2 or 3 years, in terms of retaining players and retaining coaches, and that continuity won them football games. And we saw it in other semifinal teams, their coaching and their continuity. But, you know, how it gets resolved, I mean, I know you're saying, look, the agents are making 15, 20%, and they're all over the place. But if it's that common of a knowledge, then to me, this is more of a parent problem too. Are you talking with your kids about this? Are you making them aware? Are you protecting them, the player, from bad actors? I mean, it's if the agents are making that much money and they're causing that much of a problem, it's that much of an awareness, then to me, this comes down to parents and administrators taking a step to make the changes themselves if the system isn't willing to police itself or can't properly police itself, because we opened up this lid of pay for play. And everybody has equal rights to get paid and play as long as they want, wherever they want.
I was muted the whole time. Boy, that was a good one. Dave,
I was like, oh my gosh, my power didn't go out, but my sound went out.
Yeah, sorry about that. Here's a question. And this is a question that I got from Hugh Beaumont. Hugh Beaumont texted me this question.
All right.
And Tony Dow. And they're wanting to know, the question is there a path for the SEC to get back on top of the college football world? We know what's happened in the last 20 years, but we're also painfully aware of what's happened in the last 3 years. This is an SEC, a myopically focused SEC show, but we talk about football all over the country because it matters what happens here, there, and everywhere in between. But can the SEC get back to where it was 5 years ago, much less 10 or 15? Is that even possible in today's world?
No. I don't believe it is. And I know all the comparisons. We've seen them all of LSU, Alabama, Georgia versus today's Indiana. It's different generations. It's like trying to compare players. Who's the greatest player of all time? I'm a proponent of greatest player of their generation, right? Greatest player of the environment that they're in. And so trying to compare yesterday's teams to today's environment, I think it's apples and oranges. And is that great Georgia or Alabama or LSU team coming back through the door? No, we're never going to have that depth. A lot of people are propping up the SEC because they still have the drafted NFL talent. Doesn't mean it's better football. Doesn't mean you play better as a team together. Doesn't mean you have better depth just because you have the most NFL players. The coaching isn't very good relative to the Big Ten either. I know a lot of people are talking about the alumni base, right? I mean, Indiana, Michigan, Ohio State, UCLA, USC. I mean, these are some of the biggest, 1.5, 2 million alumni. And it's not just the alumni base. Look at Indiana, your average income. Okay. Average Indiana grad makes $21,000 a year more than the average Alabama grad. Okay. So not only do they have the manpower, they got the checkbooks, right? And as we know, checkbook is king right now. But with the SEC, I think maybe one of the mentalities that could be hurting them is the whole idea that you have to have an SEC head coach. Okay. Michigan got Kyle Whittingham. Okay. Arkansas got Ryan Silverfield. Who got better? Which guy would you want? Right? That's a rhetorical question. Penn State got Matt Campbell. Auburn got Alex Golsh. We know who's graded way higher in that scenario too. So you look at the coaching changes, and I think there was a third. What was the third one? Will Stein.
Yeah.
You got Will Stein. And he's got the lowest graded defensive coordinator in the SEC now. So Kentucky's not going anywhere, in my opinion. So when I look at the SEC versus the Big Ten right now, people are focusing on the players and the records. And my experience, I go back to the coaching, and the Big Ten went from here to here a little bit this year. The SEC went from here, and they either went down or they stayed about the same. They didn't take advantage of improving their staff from soup to nuts. And I think that's one of the areas that the SEC has been so focused on trying to get an SEC guy. There's just not many good ones, and they're sacrificing coaching talent for familiarity.
I totally agree. And I did my Charlie Brown voice, the mute there a minute ago. Sorry about that. But Dave, you look at John Sumrall. That's one we didn't talk about at Florida. I like what he's doing. I do like him. He's a Kentucky grad from Huntsville, went to Grissom High School. But you go back to Will Stein. You talked about Oregon. Did you say Oregon, this team we just saw play that made it to the playoffs, was the lowest offense and defensive output of any Oregon team in the last 4 years?
Oh yeah. That Bo Nix senior season in Oregon would have kicked the crap out of this Oregon team. Yeah. I think that team would have beat Indiana and Miami. That was a much better team. So yeah, Oregon keeps getting to the playoffs. They keep buying top 5 classes, but they haven't been able to get over the hump. They have not had anything. The only elite thing they had was that Bo Nix senior offensive year. That was it. Outside of that, they had a hard time being in the top 10, and now they lost both their offense and defensive coordinators. So here's mine. It's never too early for a hot take. Oregon misses the playoffs next year.
Wow.
That's my hot take. That's my hot take.
Oh, no, Tosh Lapoy, he's at Cal Berkeley now. And you talk about money, obviously Cal and Stanford both in the ACC. I remember years ago, 10 or 15 years ago, working on a capital campaign for Auburn. At the time, looking at the endowment at Auburn and the athletic-only endowment at Stanford, and it was insane, the money that they have at Stanford. And Cal Berkeley, you got some of the smartest people on the planet there. And the thing is, sometimes they're like some kid, third, fourth generation Trustfarian, that's never had a job, that was born on third base and thought he hit a triple. But if they decide they want to get serious about football at Cal or Stanford, they damn sure have the money. Pete, they've got lots of it. And Pete, you have been, thank you so much. And I don't know what this word really means, but Michael Jordan said to say it, a yeoman's effort. Remember Ford had an old station wagon called the Yeoman out there. Are you driving or are you sitting with the heat on, Pete? Because what a yeoman's effort. And you're not spinning any yarns either.
Well, I'm trying to sit in a place where I don't keep going in and out and keep breaking up. But
you're doing great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It's well, I appreciate it, and it's always fun. I look forward to this every Monday. To Dave's point about disposable income, there's no doubt the Big Ten has always had more money than the SEC. And look, the first shot fired about that was when Saban went after Jimbo and said they bought everybody on their team. And then Jimbo, had the meltdown and things. But guess what? Nick was just speaking the truth. Alabama, they're struggling for money. And to go with Dave on Oregon not making the playoff, Alabama's not going to make the playoff next year. Alabama's out. There's some things going on outside the program. It seems like Kalen DeBoer is trying to distance himself from everything Nick Saban did off the field. I've had 3 or 4 folks that really know the workings of that program, and the term that's used was the boots on the ground under Nick are not near the boots on the ground, and Kalen has made it that way. So when you start in and you guys know all those towns that you have help, the civic duty of that person was, hey, young man, you got to go to Alabama.
Yeah.
Those folks are no longer involved.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a huge turnover going on. And in this day and age, you get 3 years to turn a program around. I can remember a time in college coaching, it was 5 years. Not anymore. You get 3. SIG has just added fuel to that fire, getting it done in 2.
Yeah.
So everybody now, it's like the Burger King motto. We want it. I want it my way.
Yeah.
Well, not everybody's going to get it your way.
Yeah.
And, it's going to be interesting to see what schools are going to rise and what schools are going to fall. Like, I think that there's some teams in the SEC, like Vanderbilt, Clark Lee, and what they're doing recruiting wise, man, they've had a good portal run and they've really gotten some good local young guys. Clark Lee's doing a better job of recruiting Middle Tennessee. And there are more players in Middle Tennessee now than there's ever been in the history of Tennessee high school football. Yeah. Middle Tennessee is just blowing up with guys, but there's going to be a shift. And, when Dave says Oregon's not going to make it, I truly believe him. And even with Dante Moore coming back, But when you keep changing voices that these kids hear, it's like Ryan Day going to calling plays before a game in the playoffs. I mean, man, Julian saying he didn't need that at that time.
No.
Alabama, they're hiring a new offensive line coach. Okay, but what's that new offensive line coach going to have to do, and how long is it going to take for his message to get across? See?
Peter, you at the pound?
We saw an elk running through the backyard.
The police dogs found him. The police dogs found him.
Yeah,
that's a canine unit.
I had to get my dog in the car. He's a birdie doodle. He's all of 105 pounds. So I call him Biggie. My man Biggie. He's a protector.
Well, stay where you are, Pete, because you got a good signal right now. Dave, let me ask you this. Getting a lot of comments from some people. Vanderbilt couldn't beat Iowa. Who is this fella here? Big Ten runs college football. I think it's going to take this kind of banter back and forth to wake up these SEC programs, because I agree with what you said a second ago. 115%. Just because you got a lot of guys in the NFL doesn't mean you're playing great football. I mean, yep. I can remember Auburn in 1978 had a backfield of what the elk? Yeah. The bugling of look at Dave in tears right there. Dave, control the emotions.
Man, I would smack his ass right now.
Oh, Dave, you know what? That elk, he's going to order from hempforpros.com. Let me just say this. If you've got aches and pains, you're having trouble sleeping, the lights out gummies, they absolutely work. The chill gummies, man, they calm me and relax me. And the energy gummies, like this says on the package, pain, inflammation, focus, appetite suppression. I love them. And they've got the pain gels and the topicals, the roll-ons. They work. Hempforpros.com. If you don't think they work, you want to argue with Mike Singletary, go for it, okay? Tell Mike he's wrong. Tell Harry Carson he's wrong.
Hey, Rob. When Bobby Weir passed away this past week, I was doing a lot of those gummies and roll-ons. Yeah. So I just want you to know it took when Bobby Weir passed away from the Grateful Dead.
Hey, by the way, when Pete first started doing the show with us, when we came back on, the first Saturday, Dave, was March 14th of 2020. First weekend of the pandemic. And everybody was saying, what are you and Cordelli going to do? You're not going to be able to have a show. What are you going to do? I said, we're going to kick ass. And my wife said, I knew y'all were going to make it then, because I'd already been in the planning meetings with Pete at the conference table over at Duncan Williams. It was like being in a staff meeting and with a coach. And Pete goes, all right, here's what we're going to do on 3. But anyway, awesome stuff. We get through this stuff. Dave, you heard what Pete just said. I think you talk so much. One of your themes and narratives is the continuity or the lack thereof. Dave, we do football on this show and basketball and baseball year round. This Monday football show, man, it's a three-headed, it's a triumvirate. Dave, Pete, Ellis, I want your thoughts about the new way you better be thinking when you talk to coaches. It's called, you got to get out of your comfort zone. You can't keep doing what you're doing or you're going to be extinct, aren't you? I think.
Yeah, I mean it's the guy that is always doing the you know the saying, that's the way we've always done it.
Yeah.
In my world, I don't even talk to that guy, because my job is trying to find the edge against people that think that way. And so no matter what we do, if I'm dealing with a coach or a GM or player personnel that is like, that's the way we've always done it around here. Dinosaurs. Things are always changing, and And it may come back to, fashion comes back. A lot of these things kind of run in a cycle. The offense gets good. The defense figures it out. The defense makes the change. Now the offense has to change for the defense, And I mean, 20 years ago, Chip Kelly couldn't be stopped, and now he can't keep a job, right? And so things evolve. And I don't think the portal and the players and dealing with coaches, I don't think that's any different as well. It's trying to come up with the formula, the edge, to make yourself better in a time of change. And sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. Maybe Curt Cignetti's mindset and the way he deals with players and the way he deals with coaches happen to just fit exactly with this new environment. It wasn't by design. It was more just by conceptually they came together and it works. And so, for anybody out there trying to solve the problem, let's say we're trying to solve the problem of making the SEC better. Okay. I think the first thing is people need to acknowledge, okay, it is worse. This is not a better conference. This is not a conference that has half the dominant teams in the top 25. It may have the dominant share of player talent, but not team performance talent. So I think the first thing is trying to acknowledge the problem. The second thing, though, is trying to figure out step by step where this problem was created and how can I combat this problem as a program, whether it's Auburn, whether it's Florida, whether it's Alabama or Georgia. I mean, even look at Georgia. We've got a lot of coaching continuity there. Nobody's left for 4 years. They can't figure it out. That defense hasn't been top 25 for 3 years, right? But it's Mike Bobo's fault. So, with anything, I think in life, when you have a problem, you're trying to solve it. So with the SEC, I think this is where if we had a college show, I'd love to hear listeners texting in ideas and concepts that need to be explored. Right? Not just simply this is the problem. We need to look into this as the problem and start trying to piece away and chip away at what the true problem is for the SEC right now.
Yeah, and I like these comments, from some of the viewers, and thank you so much. Send in your comments. Also, share us,
please,
like us, and subscribe. I love these comments. And Georgia content going back to back. LSU still living off of 2019. Georgia getting rid of Beck was so bad. Georgia was tripping, and I get people texting me. Send in your comments on here. But Pete, what Dave just said is right. We're going to have to shake up the SEC, and the more that they talk about, we got more players from the SEC and the NFL. We've won in the last 20 years this many national championships. What are you doing now? Everybody knows this. If you're in sales in the commission business, on the first day of every month, you're at 0.00. That's why most people in sales are ADD and OCD and ADHD and NFL and NBA, whatever you want to call it, because we started at 0 at the beginning of every month. And now the SEC schools, you're right, Alabama, four losses 2 years in a row. And Nick Saban and DeBoer's record the same. Look at the program Saban walked into in 2007, his first year. They had lost, in the previous 10 years, they'd lost 5 games or more, 7 of the previous 10 years. It was a bad mess. He wanted to get rid of half that team his first year there, but he couldn't do it. The next year, he takes John Parker Wilson, a quarterback out of Hoover, pretty average quarterback, and they go 12-0 and then get beat by Florida and Utah in the bowl game, but they turned the corner. Pete, do you see anybody that's got that kind of, what your potential is one thing. Like Mike Tomlin said recently, I want to give credit to him. What you're willing to do is an entirely different matter.
Oh, there's no doubt. And to go to Dave's point about the SEC, it's only going to get worse. Why? You got 9 conference games next year with 16 teams. The math doesn't add up. I've been saying it since day one. The Big Ten has 18 teams. 9-game schedule make sense. It's half and half. To me. At 16 teams, you go 8-8. When you go to 9 for 16, everybody's going to end up with one more loss. So guess what? The SEC they're not going to have as many teams in the final top 10, top 20, because they are beating each other up and they're cannibalizing each other. Greg Sankey got played by Petiti. If Greg Sankey wanted to actually go to a 9-game conference schedule, add 2 more teams. Take North Carolina and Miami. Take Florida State Clemson, who was trying to get at. Do something to increase the number of teams. The math does not work. And I mean, I'm preaching to the choir. You two understand math better than I do. But the SEC is going to be a weaker conference next year because of the poor decision Sankey made. And guys, I can't wait for the SEC spring meetings in Destin when Kirby Smart is asked, well, Coach, how you feeling about 2026 now with 9 conference games? You don't think there's going to be some scorched earth coming out of those coaches? Because Sankey never asked the coaches what they thought. And guess what? Coaches and players always get out of this discussion. But, Rob, to your point about next year, you got to go with Stockton coming back if they can stay healthy. Georgia right now, it's early, I know. Pete Golding's doing it at Ole Miss, especially if they get Trinidad Chambliss back. The defense is going to be better. And then, guys, Lane Kiffin has absolutely knocked the ball out of the park with players. Keeping Blake Baker on defense was huge to keep that defensive system. And now it's for this offensive staff, Charlie Weiss and Lane, to get this offense on track. And watch out for LSU. I'm going Georgia, LSU, and then possibly Ole Miss is the top 3 next year. Texas, getting the Coleman kid from Auburn helps a bunch. I don't know how good the defense is going to be under Will Muschamp in his first year. Not that Will's not a good coach. It's just new voices now. How quick do those guys buy in on defense in Austin?
Yeah, Dave. Let me say something here too. Being stuck on the past way of doing things, you better figure it out real fast. And look at these comments. Let's just get started. Who's your Dave? No, I know this guy loves us. Dave, I love you, man. Y'all call it the SEC gauntlet, but you're the only ones that believe it. And the data prove it to be nothing more than ESECPN propaganda. Who's your Dave? I think he's from Terre Haute, Indiana. Go ahead. Dave, respond to that one.
Well, no, it's I'd kind of like to piggyback what Pete was just saying is the 9 games, no matter what your opinion is of the SEC or not, the perception is going to be its worst. You're adding on more losses, right? It doesn't matter if next year's version of the SEC is better than this year's version. There's more internal losses. And I agree, Greg was sold a bill of goods. Strength of schedule doesn't mean jack squat. Okay, the team with the better strength of schedule was 5 and 6 in the playoffs this year. SOS doesn't mean jack squat. At almost any level, the Patriots had the easiest offense and defensive scoring efficiency opponent profile in the NFL this year. The easiest one. They're in the Super Bowl. Okay? Strength of schedule doesn't mean anything, and the SEC is going to find out the really hard way. It is more of a punishment than a benefit. But when it comes down to the Big Ten and the SEC right now, in terms of our numbers, we think the Big Ten is just a better coached conference. Is the talent per player there? Not quite what the SEC is. We'll see it in the NFL draft, but the better coaching, the better overall top to bottom continuity right now is in the Big Ten. And I feel that they increased that gap this year with the hiring cycle. So it'll be interesting going forward with all of this, especially like, well, Mark Cuban is a little bit in the tech sector. What happens when the Cal and Stanford and some of these other tech guys go, oh, that's kind of cool to be kind of a owner of a franchise winning football or basketball program?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I know a man. I met him. We were talking. He was on a fundraising committee with me. He lived in Palo Alto, California. He's from Alabama, and he said, "I've got to give $25 million to those California schools, Stanford and Cal, as well as my school here in the South. See, because of all the business. Now, how about this guy? Penn State Sports Talk. Penn State. All right, Ewans. Is that it, Pete? Ewans. All right, he's asking a question here. Ewans. Okay, Ewans. And he's sitting there saying, and I lost him. Let me find him. But he's talking about the SEC and how we're going as a conference. I can't find his comment, but it was a very good comment about the SEC. Here it is. John Sumrall, here's another comment. John Sumrall and all these new coaches are a bad look for the SEC. There needs to be coaching stability. That's hard to do. Who's your Dave? Stanford alum are more likely to donate to the Quidditch team before football.
That's true. Oh my God, Stanford and Cal. If they were 12-0 or 0-12, you wouldn't know it by the stadium. They wouldn't. You wouldn't. But again, okay, it's funny from the standpoint of, I mean, Stanford makes more in interest per day on their
Endowment.
on their endowment than Boise has in their entire endowment. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But don't care about the sports that much. But all it takes is one Mark Cuban.
Yeah.
One.
Yeah.
One.
Well, here's the other thing.
And there are plenty of Yeah.
Here's the other thing about Cal and Stanford. Getting Ron Rivera back as the GM for football and Cal football and getting Oliver Luck back, that gives them a great advantage to go out and raise this money because they can present a vision. They can present a vision of, look, we could be the next Indiana. Trust us. The Cal and the Stanford football pro haven't had that kind of leadership going out to help raise money that they've had in years past. And I know they've had some good coaches, but you still need a point man to go out and raise that money and show how it. And now Signy's raised the bar for those schools with money. But because of Oliver Luck at Stanford and Ron Rivera at Cal, I'm with you, Dave. They're going to bring in a lot more money than what's happened in the past.
Yeah, guys, we're about out of time, and I'll just say I like and Dave. This is what I'm saying. This is a full time on this show. You know how it is in the South, all over the country. What if Penn State 24/7 said, "Could you imagine if Kalen DeBoer or Signetti came to Alabama and brought 15 or 20 James Madison players to Alabama after what they'd seen with Dave?" 10 seconds. Yeah, I'm sorry, we're out of time.
Oh no, it's you know something. That's the way fans are going to be, though, right? Yeah. There's no right way until you win, right? It's always wrong until you win. Everybody's a fraud until you win it all. And Indiana is just the best fraud beater, and they're still a fraud because LSU 2019 and Alabama 2011 would have kicked the shit out of them. So everybody's a fraud.
Yeah, it is good. Look, we'll do it again next week, folks. Thanks everybody for watching. Most often we see the face of Christ among us. Yeah.
One question for Dave. How much did Mario listen to you on your information? You had a big part in that Miami comeback in the second half. Come on.
We lost Pete there, but hey, Dave, we'll do it again next week. Catch him College Football Matrix. Dave Bartoo, off the chart smart. Hey, Landers Ford, Rumble Boxing, Hewitt, Gun, all great. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.